The crippled beggar's hand trembled as he reached for the bowl of leftover rice. 3 young men kicked it away, laughing as the food scattered across the dusty ground. "Stay in your place, you useless cripple!" one of them spat. But what they didn't know was that beneath those tattered clothes and fake twisted limbs was Nathaniel Cross, a man whose single signature could buy their entire village 10 times over. And tonight, everything would change. If you want to see how this billionaire's secret gets exposed and what happens next, make sure you subscribe to our channel right now. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling us what you would do if you had to live as a beggar for love. Now, let's get into this story. Nathaniel Cross stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse office, watching the city lights flicker below like stars that had fallen to earth. At 32, he owned 12 luxury hotels, a tech empire worth billions, and estates across 3 continents. But as he stared at his reflection in the darkened glass, all he saw was an empty shell wrapped in expensive fabric. His phone buzzed. Another message from his father, Governor Marcus Cross. "Dinner tonight. Minister Chen's daughter will be there. Don't embarrass me." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. This was the 5th arranged introduction this month. 5 different women, all beautiful, all accomplished, all perfectly selected by his father to strengthen political alliances or business ties. And every single one of them had looked at him with the same calculation in their eyes, the same silent assessment of his net worth, before they even bothered to learn his middle name. The door to his office opened without a knock. Only one person had that privilege. "You look like death, darling," his mother said softly, crossing the marble floor in her elegant silk dress. Mrs. Elena Cross had the kind of gentle beauty that age couldn't diminish, though worry lines had begun to etch themselves around her eyes. "When was the last time you actually slept?" "Sleep is for people who have nothing to lose," Nathaniel replied, turning away from the window. "That's your father talking, not you." Elena came closer, placing a gentle hand on her son's arm. "You're not him, Nathaniel. You don't have to be." "Don't I?" He gestured at the sprawling city below. "This empire, this reputation, this life, it's all built on his foundation. I'm just the heir playing his part." "Then stop playing." Elena's voice carried an edge of desperation. "Find something real. Find someone real." Nathaniel laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Someone real? Mother, do you know what happened with Rebecca? The woman I dated for 6 months, the one I thought might actually care about me?" Elena's silence invited him to continue. "I overheard her on the phone with her friend. She said, and I quote, 'Of course I don't love him. But have you seen his investment portfolio? I can tolerate boring dinners for that kind of security.'" Nathaniel's voice went flat. She didn't even have the decency to wait until she was alone. That's how little she thought of me as a person. Oh, sweetheart. And before her, there was Melissa, who sold our private photos to tabloids for $2 million. Before that, Jennifer, who was secretly engaged to someone else while dating me for my connections. Should I continue? Elena wrapped her arms around her son, and for a moment, Nathaniel allowed himself to lean into his mother's embrace, like he had as a child. "Not everyone is like that," she whispered. "No?" Nathaniel pulled back, and Elena saw something dangerous flickering in his eyes, something desperate and reckless. "Then I need to find out for myself, without the money, without the name, without any of it." "What are you talking about?" "I'm going to disappear, Mother. I'm going to become someone else. Someone with nothing. And if there's even one person in this world who can love that version of me, then maybe, just maybe, I'll have found something real." Elena's face went pale. "Nathaniel, that's insane. Your father would never." "My father doesn't get a vote." Nathaniel's voice turned to steel. "I've already made the arrangements. My assistant will handle the business. You'll tell everyone I'm on an extended retreat. No one needs to know the truth." "And what truth is that?" Nathaniel smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That your billionaire son is about to become a crippled beggar." 3 weeks later, a battered sedan pulled up to the edge of Dustwood Village, a forgotten community 200 miles from the nearest city. The man who emerged from the back seat bore no resemblance to the polished billionaire who had stood in that penthouse office. His face was gaunt and dirty, his clothes were torn and stained, and his right leg was bent at an unnatural angle, strapped carefully to maintain the illusion of a permanent injury. Nathaniel had spent weeks learning to move like someone with a disability, studying the gait, the balance, the way pain manifests in posture. He'd mastered the art of appearing mute, of communicating only through gestures and desperate eyes. The transformation was complete. As he limped into the village square, using a crude wooden crutch, he felt eyes on him immediately. A group of children stopped their game to stare. A woman clutched her basket closer and hurried past. An old man spat on the ground in front of him. This was it. This was the test. For 3 days, Nathaniel lived on the streets of Dustwood Village, sleeping in doorways, begging for scraps, and being systematically ignored by almost everyone he encountered. The sun burned his skin. Hunger became a constant companion. And slowly, he began to understand a kind of suffering he'd never imagined. On the 4th day, as he huddled near the village well, 3 young men approached him. Nathaniel recognized the type immediately, wealthy by village standards, arrogant by any standard. "Look at this pathetic thing," one of them said, a tall man with gold chains around his neck. "He's been stinking up our village for days." "Someone should clean up this trash," another added, and before Nathaniel could react, the man kicked his crutch away. Nathaniel fell hard, his false injury screaming with real pain as he hit the ground. The 3 men laughed. Others watched, but did nothing. This was how the world treated the powerless, Nathaniel realized. This was the truth that money had always shielded him from. "Hey, leave him alone!" The voice was young, female, and absolutely furious. Nathaniel looked up through the dust to see a girl running toward them, her worn dress flying behind her, her eyes blazing with an anger that seemed too large for her small frame. "Mind your business, Amara," the tall man sneered. "He is my business. When you're being animals in front of my father's shop," Amara shot back. She couldn't have been more than 23, with dark skin that glowed in the afternoon sun and a face that combined fierce determination with unexpected gentleness. She pushed past the men and knelt beside Nathaniel. "Can you stand?" Nathaniel nodded weakly, maintaining his mute disguise. "Then let me help you." Amara retrieved his crutch and carefully supported his arm as he struggled to his feet. She was stronger than she looked, steady and sure. "You leave him alone, you hear me? All of you." The tall man with the gold chains laughed. "You're wasting your kindness on garbage, Amara. But then again, you always did have terrible judgment." "Better terrible judgment than no heart at all, Chidi." Amara's voice could have cut glass. "Now go find someone else to torture." She led Nathaniel away from the crowd toward a small shop with faded paint and a creaking sign that read, "Cato General Store." An older man stood in the doorway, watching with sad, knowing eyes. "Another stray daughter?" he asked gently. "He needs help, Pa." Amara's voice softened when she spoke to her father. "Look at him. He's starving." Pa Cato studied Nathaniel for a long moment, and Nathaniel had the unsettling feeling that this weathered man could see more than most. Finally, Pa Cato nodded. "Bring him inside. We'll give him some food." That evening, as Nathaniel sat in the back of the small shop eating the first real meal he'd had in days, he watched Amara move around the space with practiced efficiency. She served customers with genuine smiles, helped her father restock shelves, and checked on Nathaniel every few minutes to make sure he was all right. "You can stay in our storage room," Pa Cato said suddenly. "It's not much, just a mat on the floor, but it's better than the streets." Nathaniel's eyes widened in surprise. He gestured frantically, trying to convey gratitude without words. "He's saying thank you, Pa," Amara translated with a small smile. "I can tell." "Why are you helping me?" Nathaniel wanted to scream. "You don't know me. You gain nothing from this. Why?" But he remained silent, just nodded his thanks, and tried not to show how deeply their simple kindness had already begun to crack something open inside his chest. Over the following weeks, a routine developed. Nathaniel would help around the shop in whatever small ways he could manage with his injury. He'd sweep the floor, organize shelves, and sit by the door to keep watch. In return, Pa Cato gave him food and shelter, while Amara treated him with a kindness that felt like water in a desert. She would talk to him for hours, never bothered by his silence. She told him about her mother, who had died when Amara was 12, about her dreams of becoming a teacher someday, though they could barely afford to keep the shop running, about the village politics and gossip, painting pictures of a community that was poor in wealth, but rich in complicated human drama. "You know what I think," Amara said one evening as they sat outside the shop, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and red. "I think you understand everything I say. I think you're not as simple as people assume." Nathaniel's heart skipped. He kept his face carefully neutral. "It's okay," Amara continued softly. "You don't have to pretend with me. However you are, whoever you are, you're welcome here." In that moment, Nathaniel fell. Not the shallow infatuation he'd experienced with beautiful women at expensive parties, but something deeper and more terrifying. He fell for the girl who saw him as human when he'd been dressed as less than that, who gave without expecting return, who smiled at him like he mattered. But his peace was short-lived. Prince Jide arrived in Dustwood Village like a hurricane wrapped in expensive cologne. His convoy of luxury cars kicked up dust as they rolled into the village square, and he emerged wearing a designer suit that cost more than most families in Dustwood earned in a year. Nathaniel recognized the type immediately because he'd been that type just months ago. "Where is she?" Prince Jide announced loudly. "Where is the beautiful Amara I've heard so much about?" Zara, Amara's childhood friend, practically ran to greet him. "She's at her father's shop, Prince Jide. I can take you there." Nathaniel watched from his corner as Prince Jide swept into the small store like he owned it. The man was handsome, Nathaniel admitted grudgingly, with an easy confidence that money always seemed to provide. "Amara," Prince Jide's voice was smooth as silk. "I've come from the city to meet the girl they say has a heart of gold and beauty to match." Amara looked up from the counter, unimpressed. "And I suppose you want to buy both?" Prince Jide laughed, clearly thinking she was joking. "I want to marry you. I can give you everything. A house in the city, cars, clothes, anything you desire. You'll never have to work in this dusty shop again." "This dusty shop is my father's. Life," Amara replied coolly. "And I'm not for sale, no matter how nicely you package the offer." "Every woman wants security," Prince Jide pressed. "I'm offering you a life most can only dream of. Then find someone who dreams of that life." Amara turned back to her work. "I'm not interested." Nathaniel's chest swelled with something he couldn't name. Pride? Hope? Fear? Because he knew what Prince Jide didn't yet understand. Amara actually meant it. But Prince Jide wasn't a man accustomed to rejection. Over the next several days, he launched a campaign. Expensive gifts appeared at the shop. Zara, increasingly jealous of Amara's attention and Prince Jide's interest, became his willing accomplice. "You're being stupid," Zara hissed at Amara one afternoon when they thought Nathaniel couldn't hear. "He's rich, he's handsome, and he wants you. What more could you want? I want someone who sees me, not just what I look like, or how I might improve his status," Amara shot back. "Is that so hard to understand?" "Yes," Zara's voice rose with frustration. "You're throwing away a chance at a real life for what? To stay in this dying shop, taking care of a crippled beggar who can't even speak?" Amara's slap echoed in the small shop. "Don't you dare talk about Timo like that." Timo. She'd given him a name. Nathaniel's throat tightened with emotion. Zara touched her reddened cheek, her eyes filling with tears of rage. "You'll regret this, Amara. When you're still here years from now, poor and alone, remember that I tried to help you." That night, as Nathaniel lay in the storage room, he heard voices from the main shop. Pa Kedo and Amara talking quietly. "The farm, Pa?" "No, you can't sell the cocoa farm." "It's already decided," Pa Kedo said gently. "I've been talking to the doctor in the next village. He says there might be a surgery that could help Timo walk again. But it's expensive." "Pa, that farm is all we have left of Mama. She planted those trees. And your mother would want us to help someone in need. That's who she was." Pa Kato's voice was firm but kind. "The money will be enough for the surgery and to keep the shop running for a few more months. It's the right thing to do." Nathaniel pressed his hands over his mouth to keep from crying out. These people, these beautiful, foolish, impossibly kind people were sacrificing everything for a lie. For him. For a fraud who was deceiving them every single day. The guilt was crushing. But he couldn't reveal the truth yet. Could he? Not when things were finally becoming clear. Not when he'd finally found what he'd been searching for. This is the moment you've been waiting for. The truth is about to explode. And trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. Smash that subscribe button right now, hit the like, and comment below. Team Amara, if you think she deserves better than all these lies. The next part will break your heart. The day of the supposed surgery arrived with dark clouds gathering overhead, as if the sky itself knew what was coming. The village had come together, donating what little they could spare. Even Prince Jide, in a show of generosity that was really about impressing Amara, had contributed a substantial amount. Nathaniel sat in Pakato's storage room, surrounded by the evidence of their sacrifice. Medical documents he knew were fabricated. Money raised through kindness and suffering. And Amara, sitting beside him, holding his hand. "I'm scared for you, Timo," she whispered. "But I'm also hopeful. If this works, you'll be able to walk again. To have a real life." Nathaniel looked at her, this woman who had shown him more genuine love in 2 months than he'd experienced in 32 years. And he knew he couldn't do it. Couldn't let them waste their resources on a lie. Couldn't let this deception continue even one more day. His hand started to shake. "Timo, are you all right?" Nathaniel stood up, smoothly, perfectly, without the crutch. Amara gasped, scrambling backward. "How? What? I'm sorry," Nathaniel said, his voice clear and steady and full of anguish. "I'm so sorry." Amara's face went white. "You can talk. I can talk. I can walk. I can do everything I've pretended I couldn't do." The words tumbled out now, desperate and rushed. "My name isn't Timo, it's Nathaniel Cross. I'm the son of Governor Marcus Cross. I own hotels and businesses across the country. I came here disguised as a beggar, because I needed to know if anyone could love me for who I am, not what I have. Get out, Amara whispered. Please, let me explain. Get out! Amara's scream brought Pakato running. The old man took in the scene, his face crumbling as understanding dawned. You lied to us, Pakato said quietly. We sold our land for you. I'll buy it back. I'll pay you 10 times what you got for it, Nathaniel pleaded. I'll give you everything. Just please understand. Understand what? Amara's eyes blazed with tears and fury. That you thought we were lab rats in your experiment? That our kindness was just data for you to collect? That everything we shared meant nothing because it was all built on lies? It wasn't like that. What I feel for you is real. Don't you dare. Amara's voice could have shattered stone. You don't get to talk about real feelings when nothing about you was real. You didn't test my love, Nathaniel Cross. You destroyed it. Amara, I said get out. Nathaniel looked at Pakato, hoping for mercy, for understanding. But the old man just turned away, his shoulders slumped in defeat. You should leave, son, before the village finds out. They won't be kind. But it was too late. Zara, who had been listening at the window, had already spread the news. By the time Nathaniel stepped outside, a crowd had gathered, and they were angry. You played us for fools. Rich man came to mock us. He made us look like idiots. Someone threw a stone. It struck Nathaniel's shoulder, and he staggered but didn't run. Maybe he deserved this. Maybe this was justice for his arrogance, for his stupid, selfish plan. Prince Jide appeared at the front of the crowd, and for once, there was no smugness in his expression, just disgust. You're worse than a thief, he said coldly. A thief only takes money. You took their dignity. I never meant. Your intentions don't matter. The damage is done. Prince Jide stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Nathaniel could hear. And for what it's worth, you lost something precious. Amara is the rarest kind of person. Too rare for someone like you to appreciate. Another stone flew, this one hitting Nathaniel in the face. Blood trickled from his split lip as he finally turned and walked away, leaving Dustwood Village behind. Leaving Amara behind. Leaving the only real thing he'd ever found in his entire privileged life. The luxury car that picked him up at the village edge felt like a prison. The driver said nothing as Nathaniel collapsed in the back seat, his carefully constructed disguise now a pile of tattered clothes on the floor. He'd accomplished his experiment. He'd found love. And then he'd destroyed it with his own hands. When Nathaniel walked into his father's mansion 3 days later, he looked like he'd aged 10 years. Governor Marcus Cross barely glanced up from his dinner. You're back. Good. Minister Chen's daughter is still available if you're done with your little adventure. Father, whatever you did, wherever you went, I don't care. You have responsibilities. You have a name to uphold. So clean yourself up and get back to reality. This is reality, Nathaniel said flatly. And I'm done living yours. Governor Cross finally looked at his son, really looked at him. Don't be dramatic. You're getting married to someone suitable, and that's final. No. The single word hung in the air like a bomb. What did you say to me? I said no. Nathaniel's voice was steady now, hardened by heartbreak into something unbreakable. I found someone I love, someone real, and I'm going to fix what I broke. Governor Cross stood slowly, his face darkening. If you think I'm going to let you throw away political alliances for some village girl, you don't get to let me do anything. I'm not your puppet anymore. Then you're not my son. Elena burst into the dining room, her face streaked with tears. Stop it. Both of you. Stop it right now. Stay out of this, Elena, Governor Cross warned. No, I won't stay out of it anymore. I've watched you crush every bit of humanity out of this boy since he was old enough to understand what money meant. I've stayed silent while you turned him into a younger version of your cold, calculating self. But not anymore. Elena turned to Nathaniel. You found someone. Someone who made you feel human again. Nathaniel nodded, not trusting his voice. Then fight for her. Whatever it takes, fight for her. She'll never forgive me. Maybe not, but you owe her the chance to decide. Elena's smile was sad but determined. And I'm going to help you. Governor Cross's laugh was bitter. How touching. And what exactly do you think you can do, Elena? More than you'd imagine. Elena straightened her shoulders. I know where the girl and her father are. I've been keeping track, making sure they're safe. Nathaniel's head snapped up. What? Did you think I wouldn't follow your experiment? I'm your mother. I've had people watching Dustwood Village from the beginning. Elena pulled out her phone, showing Nathaniel a series of updates. They needed to relocate after the scandal. I helped arrange it quietly. They're in Iron City now, actually, 3 miles from here. You brought them to Iron City? Governor Cross's voice went dangerously quiet. I helped them find opportunities. The father runs a small bookshop now. The girl is taking night classes to get her teaching certificate. They don't know I'm involved. They think it was a government assistance program. Elena, if you've undermined my authority— Your authority? Elena's laugh was sharp. Is that what you call destroying our son's chance at happiness? Then yes, Marcus, I've undermined it, and I'll do it again. Governor Cross moved fast for a man his age, grabbing Elena's arm hard enough to leave marks. Nathaniel was faster, putting himself between his parents. Don't touch her. She's my wife. She's my mother. And she's done more for me in 5 minutes than you have in 32 years. Nathaniel's voice dropped to something cold and final. You want to control someone? Control your own empire? But you've lost control of me. Father and son faced each other in silence, both unwilling to back down. Finally, Governor Cross released a long breath. If you go after that girl, if you humiliate this family with some scandal about a billionaire and a village nobody, I will make their lives hell. I will destroy that bookshop. I will make sure she never gets her teaching certificate. I will erase them from existence. Do you understand me? The threat hung in the air like poison. This is it. This is where everything explodes into chaos. Are you still watching? Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and comment. Justice for Amara if you think the governor needs to pay for his threats. You won't believe what happens in the next 60 seconds. Elena's scream cut through the tension like a knife. She'd pulled out of Marcus's grip and was staring at her phone, her face white as paper. Marcus, you didn't. Please tell me you didn't. What are you talking about? Pa Koto, Amara's father. He's in the hospital, critical condition, beaten by unknown assailants. Elena's hands shook as she thrust the phone at her husband. This happened 20 minutes ago. Governor Cross's face betrayed nothing, but Nathaniel saw it. The slight tightening around the eyes, the way he didn't immediately deny involvement. And something inside Nathaniel snapped clean in half. He moved before thinking, grabbing his father by the collar and slamming him against the mahogany dining table. Plates and glasses crashed to the floor. What did you do? What did you do? Get your hands off me. You had him beaten. An innocent old man who never hurt anyone, and you had him beaten. Nathaniel's voice rose to a roar. Why? To send me a message? To prove your power? To protect this family. Governor Cross shoved back, surprisingly strong. You think I got where I am by letting people disrespect us? You think power just happens? I made one phone call, one simple phone call, to make sure you understood the consequences. Nathaniel punched his father. The impact sent the older man sprawling backward, blood streaming from his nose. Elena screamed, but Nathaniel barely heard her. He was moving again, grabbing his father, ready to hit him again, ready to make him hurt the way Pa Cato was hurting, the way Amara must be hurting. "Nathaniel, stop!" Elena's voice finally cut through the red haze. Nathaniel looked down at his father, at the man who had raised him and ruined him in equal measure, and slowly released his grip. "If he dies," Nathaniel said quietly, each word carved from ice, "I will destroy you. I will take every illegal deal, every corrupt decision, every skeleton in your political closet, and I will burn your empire to the ground. Do you understand me, Father? That's not a threat. That's a promise." Governor Cross wiped blood from his face, and for the first time in Nathaniel's memory, his father looked afraid. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." Nathaniel turned and ran, Elena close behind him. They took his car, breaking every speed limit as they raced to Iron City Hospital. Nathaniel's mind spun with worst-case scenarios. Pa Cato dead. Amara destroyed. Blood on his hands because he dared to love someone outside his world. The hospital emergency room was chaos. Nathaniel burst through the doors, Elena half a step behind, both of them still in their expensive dinner clothes, looking completely out of place among the worn waiting room chairs and flickering fluorescent lights. And there she was. Amara sat in the corner, her face buried in her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. She looked smaller than Nathaniel remembered, fragile in a way that made his chest ache. Prince Jide sat beside her, one arm around her shoulders, whispering something Nathaniel couldn't hear. "Amara!" Nathaniel breathed. She looked up, and when her eyes met his, the hatred in them was like a physical blow. I'm so sorry. I just found out. My father, your father?" Amara stood slowly, and Prince Jide rose with her, protective. "Your father did this. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know he would." "Get out," Amara said, her voice dead and flat. "You've done enough. Please, just let me explain." "Explain what?" "That your family is so powerful they can have innocent people beaten in the street? That falling in love with you comes with a price tag of blood?" Amara's voice broke. "He's all I have left, Nathaniel. My father is all I have, and he might die because I was stupid enough to show kindness to a liar." "He's not going to die," Nathaniel said desperately. "I'll get the best doctors, the best care. Money is no object." "Of course it's not. Money is never an object for people like you." Amara's scream echoed in the waiting room, drawing stares from nurses and other patients. "You throw it around like it solves everything, like it makes up for the pain you cause. But it doesn't. My father's blood isn't for sale, and neither is my forgiveness." A doctor emerged from the emergency room, and Amara immediately turned away from Nathaniel to intercept him. "How is he? Is he going to be okay?" The doctor's expression was grave. "He's stable for now, but the injuries are severe. Multiple broken ribs, internal bleeding, head trauma. The next 24 hours are critical." Amara swayed, and Prince Jide caught her. "Can I see him?" "Family only, I'm afraid." "Are you his daughter?" "Yes." "Then come with me. But only for a few minutes. He needs rest." Amara followed the doctor through the double doors, leaving Nathaniel standing in the waiting room feeling more helpless than he'd ever felt in his life. All his money, all his power, all his resources, and he couldn't fix this. He couldn't undo what his father had done. Elena touched his arm gently. "Nathaniel." "Don't," he choked out. "Don't tell me it's going to be okay. It's not okay. It's never going to be okay." "Then make it better," Elena said firmly. "Your father started this war. Now you need to end it." Nathaniel looked at his mother, at the determination in her eyes, and slowly nodded. "I need to go back to the mansion." What are you going to do? What I should have done years ago. The drive back to his father's mansion felt like descending into hell. Nathaniel's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly, his knuckles went white. And beside him, Elena sat in tense silence, knowing better than to ask questions she didn't want answered. Governor Cross was in his study, a glass of whiskey in one hand, a phone in the other. He looked up when Nathaniel entered and had the audacity to smile. I thought you might come back with your tail between your legs, ready to be reasonable. Nathaniel walked to his father's desk and very calmly swept everything off it. Papers, pins, the expensive whiskey decanter, all of it crashed to the floor. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call off your dogs, all of them, permanently. Governor Cross stood, his face flushing with anger. You don't give me orders in my own house. This isn't your house. It's registered in Mother's name, remember? That tax loophole you used 20 years ago? Nathaniel's smile was sharp as broken glass. I checked, so technically you're in her house. And I don't think she wants you here anymore. Do you, Mother? Elena appeared in the doorway, her face set in lines Nathaniel had never seen before. No, I don't. Elena, you can't be serious. I've been silent for 30 years, Marcus. I've watched you corrupt our son, manipulate our lives, hurt anyone who gets in your way. I'm done being silent. Elena's voice was steady, unwavering. You tried to kill an innocent man to control our son. That's where I draw the line. He's not dead. Only because your hired thugs are incompetent. Elena's composure cracked. What happened to you, Marcus? When did you become this monster? I became powerful. That's what happened. Governor Cross's voice was cold. And if you two are too weak to appreciate what that takes, then maybe I don't need either of you. Good, Nathaniel said quietly. Because we don't need you either. He pulled a gun from his jacket. Not to use, just to show. Just to make his father understand that this was serious, that the games were over, that someone in this family was finally willing to match Marcus Cross's violence with violence. Elena gasped. Governor Cross went very still. Put that away, his father said slowly. You're not a killer, Nathaniel. No? You turned me into so many things I never wanted to be. Why not this, too? Nathaniel's hand was steady as he aimed the weapon at his father's chest. You hurt that old man. You threatened the woman I love. You've spent my entire life making me feel like I was never good enough, smart enough, ruthless enough to be your son. Well, congratulations, Father. I finally am. Nathaniel, please, Elena begged. Don't do this. Don't let him turn you into him. I'm not turning into him. I'm stopping him. Nathaniel's finger moved to the trigger. One call, Father. Call off your people. Promise me you'll never go near Amara or Pakato again. Or I swear to God, I'll end this right now. The room held its breath. Governor Marcus Cross, a man who had built an empire on intimidation and power, who had never backed down from any fight, who had crushed countless enemies under his heel, looked at his son and saw someone he didn't recognize. Someone harder than he'd ever managed to make himself. And maybe, just maybe, it scared him. Fine, Governor Cross said quietly. I'll call them off. Say it like you mean it. I'll call them off. I'll leave the girl and her father alone. Are you satisfied? Nathaniel lowered the gun slowly, his hand trembling now with the aftermath of adrenaline. He'd never actually intended to pull the trigger, but his father didn't need to know that. Get out of this house, Elena said to her husband, her voice cold as winter. Tonight, I'll have your things sent to your office. Governor Cross looked between his wife and son, and for the first time in decades, he seemed uncertain. Lost. Elena, you can't just, I can, and I am. This marriage has been dead for years. I just didn't have the courage to bury it until now. Elena walked to the door and held it open. Leave, Marcus, while you still can. Governor Marcus Cross gathered what remained of his dignity, straightened his jacket, and walked out of the study. But at the doorway, he paused and looked back at Nathaniel. You'll regret this. Both of you. When the money runs out, when the social invitations stop coming, when you realize what you've thrown away, you'll regret it. The only thing I regret, Nathaniel said quietly, is not doing this sooner. The door closed behind Governor Cross with a finality that felt like the end of an era. Elena collapsed into a chair, and suddenly she looked every one of her 58 years. What have we done? What we should have done a long time ago. Nathaniel knelt beside his mother, taking her hands. Are you going to be okay? I don't know, Elena admitted. But I will be, eventually. What about you? What are you going to do about Amara? I don't know if there's anything I can do. She hates me. She has every right to hate me. Then give her time. Give her father time to heal. And when the moment is right, you try again. Elena cupped Nathaniel's face in her hands. Real love doesn't give up, darling. It fights. It waits. It endures. And if she never forgives me, then at least you'll know you tried. The next 3 weeks were the longest of Nathaniel's life. He stayed away from the hospital, respecting Amara's space, but he paid for everything. The best doctors, the private room, the round-the-clock care. He did it all anonymously, through his mother, making sure Amara never knew the money came from him. Pa Cato slowly improved. The internal bleeding stopped. The broken bones began to heal. And one morning, 21 days after the attack, he opened his eyes and asked for his daughter. Amara, who had barely left his side, burst into tears of relief. Pa, you're awake. You're really awake. How long? Pa Cato's voice was weak but clear. 3 weeks. You've been asleep for 3 weeks. Pa Cato processed this slowly, his eyes moving around the expensive private room, taking in the medical equipment, the comfortable furniture, the flowers. How are we paying for this? Amara hesitated. There was a program, a government assistance thing. They covered everything. Pa Cato looked at his daughter for a long moment, and Amara had the uncomfortable feeling that he saw right through the lie. But all he said was, I want to go home soon. Soon, Pa, when the doctors say you're ready. And Timo? Pa Cato asked quietly. Or should I say, Nathaniel? Amara's face hardened. I don't want to talk about him. That bad? Worse. Amara stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. His father ordered the attack on you, Pa, to punish him, to punish me. We were just pieces on his board, and we got caught in his family's war. And the son, Nathaniel? Was he part of it? I don't know. Maybe not the attack, but everything else? Yes. The lies, the disguise, the manipulation. All of it. Amara's voice broke. I loved him, Pa. Or I loved who I thought he was. And it was all fake. Was it? Pa Cato struggled to sit up, and Amara rushed to help him, adjusting pillows. Think carefully, daughter. Was the man you loved fake? Or just the circumstances? What's the difference? The difference is everything. Pa Cato took Amara's hand. When he helped in the shop, when he sat with you in the evenings, when he looked at you like you were the sun itself, was that fake? Amara didn't answer, couldn't answer, because she didn't know anymore. A knock at the door interrupted them. A nurse poked her head in, looking uncertain. Miss Amara, there's someone here to see your father. She says her name is Elena Cross. Amara stiffened. Tell her to leave. Wait, Pa Cato said gently. Let her in. Pa, she's his mother. Which is exactly why we should hear what she has to say. Elena Cross entered the hospital room with the grace of someone used to luxury, but the humility of someone who'd recently learned its limits. She carried a small bouquet of flowers and wore a simple dress. Nothing ostentatious. "Mr. Cato," Elena said softly, "I'm so deeply sorry for what happened to you. I'm sorry for my husband's cruelty. I'm sorry for my son's deception. I'm so sorry." "Mrs. Cross," Pa Cato acknowledged with a small nod. "Thank you for coming. I won't stay long. I just wanted you to know that my husband is no longer part of our lives. Nathaniel and I have cut ties with him completely. He won't threaten you again." "And your son?" Amara asked coldly. "What about him?" Elena turned to face the young woman who had captured her son's heart. "My son is heartbroken. He's been living in a small apartment, going to the office every day but barely functioning. He asks about your father constantly. He wants to apologize, but he's afraid you'll refuse to see him. He's right to be afraid. I understand your anger. I share it in some ways. What Nathaniel did was wrong." Elena paused, choosing her words carefully. "But I also know my son, and I know that what he felt for you was real. Perhaps the only real thing in his entire life." "How convenient for him," Amara said bitterly. "He got his real experience, and all it cost us was our dignity and my father's blood. You're right. The cost was too high, and nothing can undo that." Elena set the flowers on a nearby table. "But if I may offer some perspective from someone who spent 30 years in a loveless marriage, real connection is rare, painfully rare. And when you find it, even in the messiest, most complicated circumstances, it's worth fighting for. Is that what you came here to say? That I should forgive him?" "No," Elena said firmly. "I came to say that you should do whatever your heart tells you to do. Forgive him or don't. Give him a chance or don't. But make the choice from a place of clarity, not just anger. Because anger fades, but regret doesn't." With that, Elena turned and left, leaving Amara standing in the middle of the hospital room feeling more confused than ever. "She's right, you know," Pa Cato said quietly. "About what?" "About real connection being rare. About making choices from clarity, not anger." Pa Cato smiled gently at his daughter. "I'm an old man, Amara. I've seen a lot of people in my life, and I saw the way that boy looked at you. Whether his name was Timo or Nathaniel, whether he could walk or not, the love in his eyes was real. But he lied to us, Pa. Yes, he did. And that was wrong. But people make mistakes, especially when they're desperate." Pa Cato's voice was tired but wise. "The question isn't whether he made a mistake. The question is whether you can see past it to the person underneath." Amara sank into the chair beside her father's bed, her mind spinning. "I don't know if I can trust him again." "Then don't. Not yet. But maybe you can give him the chance to earn it back." 2 days later, Amara walked into a small coffee shop in downtown Iron City. She'd sent a message through Elena. 1 meeting, 30 minutes, public place. Nathaniel had agreed immediately. He was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table, looking thinner than she remembered. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his expensive suit hung a little loose on his frame. When he saw her, he stood so quickly he nearly knocked over his chair. "Amara, thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me this chance. Sit down," Amara said curtly, taking the seat across from him. "You have 30 minutes. Talk." Nathaniel sat, his hands shaking slightly. "I don't know where to start. Start with why. Why did you do it?" So Nathaniel told her everything. About the endless stream of women who only saw his bank account, about his father's control and his mother's sadness, about the desperate need to know if anyone could love him for himself. He told her about the planning, the disguise, the transformation, and he told her about falling in love. "When you helped me that first day," Nathaniel said, his voice rough with emotion, "you looked at me like I was human. Not rich, not powerful, not useful, just human. And I'd never felt that before. Every day after that, you treated me with kindness I didn't deserve. You talked to me, laughed with me, shared your dreams with me. And I fell in love with you so hard and so fast that I forgot why I'd come to Dustwood Village in the first place. But you never told me the truth," Amara pointed out. "Even when my father sold his land, even when we sacrificed everything, you stayed silent. I know, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life." Nathaniel's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I was a coward. I was terrified that if you knew the truth, you'd look at me the way you're looking at me right now, with disgust, with hatred, and I couldn't bear it. So instead you let us humiliate ourselves." "Yes." The simple admission hung between them. "Your father almost killed my pa," Amara said quietly. "Because of me, because of us, because of whatever this was. I know, and I've severed all ties with him. He'll never hurt you again, Amara. I swear it on everything I have. Your swears don't mean much to me anymore, Nathaniel." That hurt. Amara could see it in his eyes, but he nodded. "You're right. I have to earn back your trust. If you'll let me." "Why should I?" "Because despite everything, despite all the lies and the pain, what we had was real." Nathaniel leaned forward, desperate for her to understand. "When you talked to me in the evenings, I wasn't pretending to care. When you smiled, I wasn't pretending to feel joy. When you held my hand before the fake surgery, my heart wasn't pretending to break at the thought of losing you. All of that was real, Amara. The realest thing in my entire fake life." Amara felt tears prick at her eyes, but she blinked them back. "You hurt me. I know. You hurt my father. I know. You destroyed the trust I'd built around my own judgment. How do I know you're not lying to me right now?" Nathaniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope. He slid it across the table. "The deed to your father's cocoa farm. I bought it back. It's in his name now, free and clear. There's also enough money in there to pay for his medical care, to expand his bookshop, and to cover your teaching certification costs." Amara stared at the envelope, but didn't touch it. "You think you can buy forgiveness?" "No. I think I owe you at least this much. Whether you forgive me or not, whether you ever speak to me again or not, you and your father deserve to have back what you lost because of me. This doesn't fix anything. I know, but it's a start." Nathaniel stood slowly. "I love you, Amara. I love your kindness, your strength, your unwillingness to compromise yourself for money or status. I love the way you see people for who they are, not what they have. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that vision, whether you're in my life or not." He turned to leave, and Amara watched him go, the envelope still sitting untouched on the table between them. Part of her wanted to call him back. Part of her wanted to throw the money in his face. Part of her wanted to cry. But she did none of those things. She just sat there, alone in the coffee shop, wondering if love could survive being built on lies. This is the moment. This is where you need to be locked in, because what happens next will determine everything. If you're invested in this story, hit that subscribe button right now. Smash that like, and comment "forgiveness" if you think Amara should give him a second chance. The ending is coming, and you don't want to miss it. 6 months passed. Pa Kato recovered fully and reopened his bookshop, this time with a proper location and inventory. Amara finished her teaching certification and got a job at a local elementary school. They never spoke about Nathaniel, though his presence haunted them in every benefit they received, every opportunity that seemed too good to be true. Nathaniel kept his distance, as promised, but Elena visited regularly, becoming an unexpected friend to both Pa Cato and Amara. She never pushed, never mentioned her son unless asked, just offered companionship and support. And slowly, very slowly, Amara began to heal. She was leaving school one afternoon, her arms full of papers to grade, when she saw him. Nathaniel stood across the street, watching the children pour out of the building. He wasn't trying to hide, but he wasn't approaching either. Just watching. Their eyes met, and Amara felt her heart do that stupid flip it always did when she saw him. 6 months of anger, and hurt, and healing, and her treacherous heart still responded to him. She walked across the street. "How long have you been coming here?" Nathaniel looked embarrassed. "A few weeks. I wanted to see you, to know you were okay. I stay far enough away that it's not creepy, I promise. Or at least, I hope it's not creepy." Despite herself, Amara smiled slightly. "It's a little creepy. Sorry, I'll stop." "I didn't say you had to stop." Nathaniel's eyes widened with hope. "Amara, I'm still angry with you," Amara interrupted. "I'm still hurt, and I still don't know if I can fully trust you again." "I understand." "But," Amara continued, her voice softer now, "my father said something to me in the hospital. He said that real connection is rare, and that I should decide from clarity, not anger. Your father is a wise man. He is. And he's also been very insistent that I at least talk to you." Amara shifted her papers to one hip. "So here's what's going to happen. If you want a chance, a real chance, you're going to do it the right way this time. No lies, no disguises, no games. Yes, anything. You're going to court me properly, slowly, starting from the beginning, like we're strangers." Amara's voice was firm. "And if at any point I feel like you're being anything less than completely honest, it's over. Forever. Do you understand?" "I understand." Nathaniel's smile was tentative, but genuine. "Can I start by asking your name?" Amara laughed despite herself. "You know my name. But I want to hear you tell me, like we're meeting for the first time." "Fine." Amara extended her hand formally. "My name is Amara Kato. I'm a teacher. I live with my father. And I don't date men who lie." Nathaniel shook her hand, his touch warm and careful. "My name is Nathaniel Cross. I'm a businessman trying to become a better man. I live alone. And I promise I will never lie to you again." They stood there on the sidewalk, hands clasped, while children ran past them shouting and playing. It wasn't a grand romantic gesture. It wasn't a dramatic reunion. It was just two broken people, trying to build something real from the ruins of something fake. And somehow, that made it perfect. Over the next several months, Nathaniel courted Amara like she was the most precious thing in the world. He showed up at her school with lunch, not expensive catered meals, but simple sandwiches he'd made himself. He helped Pa Cato in the bookshop on weekends, shelving books and chatting with customers. He took Amara to small, quiet restaurants where they could talk without interruption. And most importantly, he told her the truth. About his business struggles, about his complicated relationship with his mother, about his fears and insecurities. He opened himself up completely, holding nothing back, letting her see every scar and imperfection. "I'm not perfect," he told her one evening as they walked through a park. "I'm still learning how to be honest. I still have moments where my first instinct is to hide or manipulate. But I'm trying, Amara. Every day, I'm trying to be the man you deserve." "You don't have to be perfect," Amara replied, lacing her fingers through his. "You just have to be real." "I can do real." "Can you?" Amara stopped walking and turned to face him. because there's still something we haven't talked about. Nathaniel's stomach dropped. What? Your wealth, your empire, your world. Amara gestured around them. This, what we have right now, it's simple. It's easy. But eventually, we'll have to deal with reality. With who you actually are. I'm just a man who loves you. You're a billionaire who loves a village teacher. Those are very different things. Nathaniel pulled Amara close, resting his forehead against hers. Then we figure it out together. If you want to stay teaching, we'll make it work. If you want to open your own school, I'll help. If you want to move to the countryside and raise goats, I'll learn to farm. Whatever life you want, Amara, we'll build it together. And if I want you to give it all up, the money, the power, all of it? Nathaniel didn't hesitate. Then I will. You don't mean that. Try me. But Amara knew she wouldn't, because despite everything, she'd fallen in love with all of him, including the parts that were complicated and rich and powerful. She'd fallen in love with his ambition, his intelligence, his determination to be better. She'd fallen in love with Nathaniel Cross, not despite who he was, but because of it. I don't want you to give up your world, Amara said softly. I just want to be sure I'm part of it. You're not part of it. You're the center of it. They kissed there in the park, and it felt like coming home, like finding something precious that had been lost, like second chances and new beginnings all wrapped into one perfect moment. But not everyone was happy about their reunion. Zara had fallen far in the past year. The rich lover who'd gotten her pregnant had disappeared the moment she'd told him about the baby. She'd been thrown out of her family's home, too ashamed to ask for help. And now, 6 months pregnant and living in a homeless shelter, she saw Amara walking hand in hand with a billionaire, and the jealousy that had always simmered inside her exploded into pure rage. You don't deserve him, Zara screamed, confronting them outside Pacato's bookshop one evening. You're nobody. You're nothing. And you get everything. Amara stared at her former friend, shocked by her appearance. Zara was gaunt, her clothes were filthy, and her pregnant belly strained against a too small shirt. Zara, what happened to you? What happened? Life happened. Reality happened. Zara's voice was shrill with desperation. While you were playing saint and getting rewarded for it, I was trying to survive. I chose the rich man, just like you told me not to, and look where it got me. I never told you not to choose him, Amara said gently. I told you to choose him for the right reasons. What are the right reasons? Love? Zara laughed bitterly. Love doesn't pay bills. Love doesn't put food on the table. You can afford to believe in love because you have a billionaire backing you up. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Zara stepped closer, her eyes wild. I helped him, you know, Prince Jide. I helped him try to break you two up because I thought if you couldn't have happiness, maybe I could find some for myself. And instead, I ended up with nothing. Less than nothing. Nathaniel stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of Amara. What do you need? Money? Housing? Medical care for the baby? I don't want your charity, Zara spat. It's not charity, it's help. Let us help you. Why would you help me after what I did? Amara moved around Nathaniel, looking her former friend in the eye. Because that's what people do. They help each other. Even when it's hard. Even when it's not deserved. Especially then. Zara broke down, collapsing onto the sidewalk in sobs. Amara knelt beside her, wrapping her arms around the woman who had tried to destroy her happiness, and held her while she cried. Nathaniel watched, his heart swelling with love for this woman who could show mercy when she had every right to show contempt. They set Zara up in a small apartment, paid for her prenatal care, made sure she had food and clothing and everything she needed for the baby. And slowly, Zara began to heal too. Not just physically, but emotionally. "Why are you doing this?" Zara asked Amara one day, as they sat in her new apartment, feeling the baby kick. "Because you needed help. That's reason enough." "I tried to ruin your life. I know, and I forgive you." "How can you forgive so easily?" Amara smiled sadly. "It's not easy. Forgiveness never is. But holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I'd rather let it go and move forward." Zara touched her swollen belly, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Amara, for everything. I know, and I forgive you." 1 year after their reunion, Nathaniel proposed, not with a flashy public display or an enormous diamond, but with a simple question asked in Pa Cato's bookshop, surrounded by the books and the quiet and the man who had sacrificed so much for both of them. "Mr. Cato," Nathaniel said formally, "I love your daughter more than anything in this world. I'm not perfect, and I've made terrible mistakes, but I promise to spend every day trying to be worthy of her. May I have your permission to marry her?" Pa Cato studied Nathaniel for a long moment, the same way he'd studied Timo that first day in Dustwood Village. Finally, he smiled. "You've already proven yourself, son. The question is, does she want to marry you?" They both turned to look at Amara, who was crying and laughing at the same time. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I want to marry you." The wedding was small and intimate. Pa Cato walked Amara down a simple aisle. Elena cried throughout the entire ceremony. Prince Jide attended and wished them well, having found his own happiness with someone else. Even Zara came, her baby daughter on her hip, to watch her former friend find the happiness she'd once tried to destroy. "I promise to be honest," Nathaniel said during his vows, "to see you, truly see you, every day for the rest of our lives, to value your kindness over my wealth, your wisdom over my power. I promise to be the man you believed I could be, even when I didn't believe it myself." "I promise to trust you," Amara replied, tears streaming down her face. "To give you grace when you stumble, support when you fall. I promise to love all of you, the poor beggar and the rich businessman, because they're both part of who you are. And I promise to always, always see you as human first." They kissed as husband and wife, and the small gathering erupted in applause. 1 month later, Amara discovered she was pregnant. The news filled their small home with joy and terror in equal measure. Nathaniel became impossibly protective, hovering over Amara like she might break. Pa Cato started building a crib in his workshop. Elena bought enough baby clothes for triplets. "We're going to be okay," Amara assured Nathaniel one evening as they lay in bed, his hand resting on her still flat stomach. "All of us. We're going to be okay." "How do you know?" "Because we choose to be. Every day, we choose kindness over bitterness, truth over lies, love over fear. And that's all we need." Nathaniel pulled his wife close, marveling at how his life had changed. A year ago, he'd been a broken man pretending to be crippled, searching desperately for something real in a fake world. Now he had everything he'd ever wanted: a wife who loved him truly, a family that accepted him fully, and a future that stretched before them filled with possibilities. "I love you," he whispered into Amara's hair. "I know," she whispered back. "And I believe you." And in the end, that was all that mattered. Not the wealth, not the status, not the empire or the power. Just two people who had found each other in the most unlikely circumstances, who had survived betrayal and pain and anger, and who had chosen to build something real from the ashes of something fake. Wealth can buy the world, but only kindness can buy the heart. And in choosing kindness, Nathaniel Cross had finally bought back his own. If this story touched your heart, if you believed in second chances and the power of forgiveness, then do me a favor. Subscribe to our channel right now so you never miss stories like this. Hit that like button to help us reach more people who need to hear this message. And drop a comment below telling us, what would you do if you discovered the love of your life had been lying to you? Would you forgive them or walk away? We read every comment, and we want to hear your story. Thank you for watching, and remember, true love isn't about perfection. It's about truth.